The latest game in one of the most iconic fighting game franchises is about to be released in Mortal Kombat 11. So many gamers are excited for it, but there's a lot to digest with MK11 ahead of its release. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing in today's video. Specifically, we're going to be taking a look at 10 big things you need to know about Mortal Kombat 11 before you buy it. Try to get through this pretty quickly, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Number one, I always like to give you some background on the studio that's working on the game, and this one, there's a couple things to digest because it's coming on a variety of different platforms, so let's go through everything. Now, the game is of course being developed by NetherRealms, and they're gonna do the fundamental design of the game. NetherRealms, obviously one of the most notable fighting game studios in the world today. Outside of Mortal Kombat, they've also done some other fighting games, such as Injustice 2. They also did Injustice 1, and they've been working on the Mortal Kombat game since the 2011 reboot. Directing the game is of course Ed Boon, and he'll be at the helm of all the fundamental design choices. However, the game is also coming to the Nintendo Switch and PC, and those versions are being worked on by a different studio. Now, obviously, gameplay will be carried over version to version, but the PC version is being done by QLOC, who have done some other PC versions of other titles, and they've done a relatively good job doing that. And the Switch version is being done by Shiver Entertainment. They're a little bit more of an unknown, so hopefully Shiver does deliver with the Switch version, considering this is one game that you would hope a level of parity with the Switch version, comparatively speaking to all the other versions. But obviously, the Switch quite not at the level of the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, or a gaming PC, so hopefully that version turns out well as well. Number two, now Mortal Kombat 11 and a lot of other fighting games these days have really gone out and created compelling storylines, and you definitely have that continuing in MK11. The story is following Shinnok's defeat at the hands of Cassie Cage in Mortal Kombat X. A corrupted Raiden plans to protect Earthrealm by destroying all its enemies. However, a new mysterious goddess who calls herself the Keeper of Time is attempting to bring order to the universe through any means necessary. This will be the big bad of the game, and her plans also include getting rid of Raiden for tampering with the events of the past in the previous game. Now, has Mortal Kombat been this incredible narrative the whole time through? No, but comparatively speaking to a lot of other fighting games, I feel like the bar in general for fighting game narratives has gone up, and I would honestly say that Mortal Kombat is one of those games that you can point to being at the helm of the narratives being better, so I always like to give credit where credit is due, and I do think MK deserves credit for that. Number three, now the roster so far has a lot of depth to it. I'll leave the entire roster in the description box down below. We've got some characters that'll be available right out the gate, and there are some characters that will be DLC characters. A sizable amount of characters are actually DLC, and that's something you'll hear me talk about quite a bit. Quite disappointed by that and that trend in fighting games, but nonetheless, some of the roster inclusions included Baraka, Cassie Cage, Cetrion, Devora, Aaron Black, Garrus, Jade, Jax, Johnny Cage, Cabal, Kano, Katana, Collector, Kotal Khan, Kung Lao, Liu Kang, Raiden, Scorpion, Scarlet, Sonya Blade, Sub-Zero, and that's just to name a few. For DLC characters so far, we do know that Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung will be DLC characters. Number four, now while going through those characters, you might have heard some new names, so let's give you guys some info on the new characters. Garros, a construct of Kronika, who is the main villain in the game, has powers that allow him to control the flow of time and produce sand-based attack. Cetrion is an elder god who possesses the power of the four elements and both the sister of Shinnok and the daughter of Kronika. Collector is a four-armed jewel collector who is a servant of the Outworld Empire, and Kronika serves as the series' first female boss character who, like Garrus, has powers over the flow of time and had overseen the events of the timelines since the very beginning as being the mother of Shinnok and Cetrion. It should be noted, while she's the big bad of the game, she actually isn't a playable character. She's just a guest character that'll be in the single player component, and she'll be here and there, but actually as a playable character she will not be present. Number five, now a worrisome element to me about fighting games recently is DLC content. It seems like fighting games, more so than any other genre of games outside of like free-to-play titles, man, they are really trying to get some longevity and trying to get the most money out of you as possible. You see games like Dragon Ball FighterZ having multiple season passes, Dead or Alive 6 has some insane DLC content. Mortal Kombat 11 at this point doesn't seem as bad, but currently, we do know that the Combat Pass will include 6 new characters, and Shao Kahn is actually a pre-order character. He's not even included in the 6 characters being included in the Combat Pass. So right there, we already know of 7 characters that won't be available in the base game. However, Nintendo Wire reported that a Twitter user data mined the live and fully loaded pre-order of Mortal Kombat 11 and discovered 13 slots in place for DLC. Now, this makes perfect sense because Shao Kahn is a pre-order character, Combat Pass 1 includes 6 characters, and you would think a second Combat Pass would include another 6 characters, rounding out the total of 13 DLC characters. So if you want the full Mortal Kombat 11 experience, you're actually looking at spending upwards of $130, $140, and man, to get the entirety of a game for $130, $140, I don't know. Some people are gonna hate on me for complaining about this, but that seems like a very, very steep price to pay. Now, of course, right from the get-go, all you'll be able to buy is the base game and the Combat Pass. You would think the second Combat Pass would come sometime down the line, and it's not even confirmed at this point, but that does seem to be a regular trend in fighting games these days, so that's a little bit of a bummer. If that roster number holds true, the roster would be pretty huge, nearing 40 characters or so that would be a pretty sizable roster, but is it a $140 roster? I don't know about that. Number 6, so outside of that, let's talk about some gameplay improvements that's being made to the game. Alongside the returning fatalities and brutalities, new gameplay features are introduced, such as fatal blows and crushing blows. Fatal blows are special moves similar to the X-ray moves in Mortal Kombat X. Like X-ray moves, fatal blows deal a large amount of damage, but unlike them, they only become available when your health drops below 30%. And it is a last resort of sorts because it can only be performed once during an entire match, so just bear that in mind. Crushing blows, on the other hand, are a special cinematic variation of a given special move triggered when certain requirements are met, much like brutalities in the previous game. Also new to the series is a flawless block mechanic, which allows for a comeback window after blocking an attack with precise timing. NetherRealms generally adds sizable updates to every Mortal Kombat game, and this one looks to be a different beast compared to its predecessors. Combo focus seems to be different a little bit towards shorter, more brutish displays of power that feel a little bit old school compared to the lengthy juggle strings of Mortal Kombat X. That was noted by a PlayStation blog post, so credit to them. But it does seem like the gameplay will be seeing some refinements, and that's something I can always appreciate in a fighting game. Number 7, also being introduced in a lot of fighting games, is customizability. NetherRealms really hammered that home with Injustice 2, and Mortal Kombat 11 also introduces a gear system. Similar to Injustice 2, but unlike the one in Injustice, this one's outfit-based gear system is just cosmetic. So in Injustice 2, they did offer some sort of gameplay differences. The appearance, however, in these games with the gear system is not going to be tied to the character's actual abilities, which I can appreciate. Just the inclusion of a gear system definitely adds a little bit to the game. And we've seen customizability being a big part of fighting games. You saw it with Soul Calibur 6, you saw it with Injustice 2, and now you're gonna have it in Mortal Kombat 11. And outside of that, the character customization extends far beyond that. Players are also allowed to create custom move lists, improving over the variation system featured in MKX. And each character has a unique set of outfits and weapons, which can be further customized by players via the custom variation feature. So a lot of customizability tools at your hands. I can definitely appreciate that, and that'll add another layer to the presentation of the game. While it's not adding this gigantic layer over the gameplay, presentation is a big element, and MK11 really seems to nail that. Number 8, so you heard me mention the Combat Pack a little while ago, and you might be wondering, well, how much is the Combat Pack? Well, it's actually not available for pre-order, so we don't know the exact price. However, Mortal Kombat 11's Premium Edition is available to pre-order right now. Do bear in mind that the base game is $59.99, and the Premium Edition is $99.99, so $100, and they try to be clever. I don't know why they're calling it the Premium Edition. It's literally the base game and the Combat Pass and nothing else. That's all you're getting, so I don't know why the Combat Pass isn't being listed separately. I imagine that'll happen when the game's actually released, so you would think it would be $40. I don't know if the Premium Edition is granting you some sort of discount. That might be the case as well, but then you're talking about a $50 Combat Pass, and that's just mind-boggling to me, so let's just hope it's a $40 Combat Pass, and we can circumvent disaster with that one, because a $50 Combat Pass would be a little bit too much. And as far as the Combat Pack is concerned, it is going to include 7 new skins, 7 pieces and collections of gear, and 1 week early access to fighters ahead of the general public, and that's 6 new characters. So you'll have 1 week access to each of the characters, because you can buy the characters separately for $5.99 each, but having the Combat Pack will grant you access to the characters a week ahead of time. And also, as I noted earlier, Shao Kahn is not included in the 6. He is just a pre-order character. He will be listed separately at $5.99 as well, so you might as well pre-order the game if you have interest, as you just get him right from the get-go. Otherwise, you do have to drop an additional $6. Number 9, of course, Mortal Kombat features a variety of different stages, and multiple stages have been revealed thus far, including Shang Tsung's Island of Ruins, Special Forces Desert Command, Black Dragon Fist Club, Shinnok's Bone Temple, Shaolin Trap Dungeon, Special Forces Army Base, Black Dragon Base, Coliseum Pits, Sea of Blood, and much more will also be available. So you have that to look forward to as well. And finally, number 10, I do want to go over some miscellaneous information and a release date. From the data miners as well, Mortal Kombat on the Nintendo Switch will be around 22.5 gigabytes. The file itself is only 6.5 gigabytes. However, there will be a day one download for an additional 15.9 gigabytes, so it is going to be a sizable install on your Nintendo Switch, so that's a little bit of a bummer. For the PC version of the game, system requirements are calling for an Intel Core i3-2100 and AMD FX 6300 for the recommended CPU, and a GPU of an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 780 or a 1060 or an R9 290 or an RX 570. As far as the game itself, it will be out on April 23rd, and the file size on the PS4 and Xbox One, we don't know that yet, but the beta was 6.31 gigabytes, which even for beta standards is pretty small, so hopefully the final game will be relatively small in file size as well. As we mentioned, the base game will be $59.99, the premium edition with the combat pack will be $100, pre-ordering the game will grant you Shao Kahn as a playable character, otherwise a $6 DLC character. And lastly, there is also the big collector's edition for a whopping $300, including the premium edition, a steelbook case, a collector's box, a 1-to-1 scale scorpion mask, which unfortunately isn't wearable. But bummer is that it's now out of stock, so to get the collector's edition, you do have to pay a hefty price through the secondary market, so that's unfortunate. But nonetheless, did want to give that a mention for those of you interested. And that's going to conclude this video. While I was a little bit upset about the DLC, and you heard me talk about that quite a bit, that does worry me in terms of the future of fighting games, but there's a lot to get excited for with Mortal Kombat 11, from the wide variety of different characters, the strong narrative that's going to be in the game, and everything else the game's got going for it. I expect this to be a rather compelling fighting game. Let us know your thoughts. Are you excited for Mortal Kombat 11? Sound off in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.